All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to the third annual MFEM Community Workshop. We do this once a year, and it's one of the things I look forward to every year. I like to it's excellent to engage with the community and see what you all are doing with MFEM. I'm always surprised at the kinds of things that come in here, and it seems like it's different and even more interesting every year. So this is the organizing committee. You'll see a few of us along the way today. Just a few notes about interacting with this workshop. We'll be recording videos of everything. So if you don't want your voice recorded, you probably shouldn't speak up. Please keep your mic muted during the talks. Let people come in. You can chat with folks on Zoom, and you can also interact on the MFEM Workshop Slack. And we can call on folks to answer questions and whatnot at the end of the talks as well. And you can try raising your hand or whatnot. If you're having trouble with the Slack channel or anything else, go ahead and ask for help in chat. We've got a good chunk of the team on standby here helping out in chat. Also post your MFEM questions in chat. We do a lot of that during the day. We also have a certificate of participation for folks who might need it. If you want one of those, go ahead and ask Holly Otten on Slack for a certificate, and she'll set you up with one. It's going to be useful for getting your boss to pay for your time or something along those lines. Okay, so I'm going to fly through this agenda. You guys already have access to this, so I don't need to point everything out. I'll just say, we're in the welcome and overview right now, and we'll go through the state of MFEM and some of the recent developments, and then we'll get into the sessions. But one thing I do want to point out is at 10:20, during our second break, we're going to be having a group photo. So go ahead and try jumping on and stay online for a couple minutes while we take the group photo. The thing I want to point out on the second page of the agenda here is this morning at 10:40 after the group photo. For the first time, we're having a set of student talks. We're doing lightning talks for a bunch of students. There's some excellent topics in here, and we're looking forward to seeing all of these. And then remember to stay tuned in the afternoon. We're going to be wrapping things up, and we're going to be having displaying the winners of the visualization contest. We had a lot of good entries this year, and it was really tough to pick the winners. But the ones we've picked are quite excellent, and we'll show you some of the other stuff there as well. And then finally, we're going to close things off with a Q&A session. Okay, so I'm just going to dig right into it. I usually like to start by going over some of the survey results that we take when we register you guys. Just a few things that I want to show you guys that we got out of the survey. So we got a total of 259 participants from 35 countries and 157 organizations. These organizations are across national labs, of course, industry, and a lot of universities. So we're getting a lot of folks all over the world, and we're really, really happy to see it. In addition, about half of you are from the United States. But the other half of you aren't. So there's a lot of representation around the world. I pulled the US out to see where the rest of you are coming from. There's a lot of folks from Morocco, interestingly. That was pretty interesting. Welcome from Morocco. And then quite a few others you expect, like India, some from Germany, France, and the United Kingdom. The other thing we really like to look at is years of experience with MFEM. So this shows that over half of you are basically new users, which is excellent for us. We like seeing growth in our user base. And so we hope this workshop will help you guys sort of get oriented on MFEM, let you ask some questions about how to use it, and get you excited about what you can do with it. So only about 5% of us are, the old timers like us. It's really good to see a growing user base like this. Okay, and so now I'd just like to go over some of the resources that we have in MFEM. So just get you oriented on some of that stuff. You've probably seen, if you were here last year, you've seen some of this, but I've got some new stuff in here too. So if you're curious about MFEM and you're just getting started, the first resource I'd like to point out is the MFEM webpage. There's quite a bit of good stuff on there. The first place I would go to is the example codes on the MFEM webpage. And there's 30 of them at this point, somewhere in that realm of examples. These are different kinds of physics, different features, things like AMR, different kinds of solvers, different parts of the RAM complex. So all the sorts of things you're going to interoperate with if you're going to be putting together a finite element code, we've got examples of them there, right? I also, if you're starting making a new solver with a kind of physics that's already there, the example codes are a really good place to start. I've actually grabbed example codes and basically wrapped a function call around them and hooked them up to what I'm going to use for the greater code. So they're a really good place to get started. Also on the mfem.org webpage, we've got, there's a getting started button up there under documentation. That'll orient you to some of the sort of basic concepts in MFEM and some of the major objects that you'll be operating with in MFEM. And as you get farther in your MFEM journey, we have Doxygen as well. We've actually got version of Doxygen floating around. So if you're using a particular version of MFEM, you can actually find the Doxygen for that as well. The other thing, other major resource we have is on GitHub. Issues are a great way to interoperate and interact with us. We are quite active trying to jump on and answer issues. And actually, folks in the MFEM community are getting pretty active on issues as well. And they're jumping in and answering things for us, which is excellent because we are a very finite resource. The other thing I always want to point out on GitHub, and Zanio is he's too shy to do this, but we have a lot of stars. And we would like it if you go ahead and click the star button on GitHub. It's not a race, but we're winning. So we have about 1.4K stars, which happens to be more than Moose, Deal2, and Elmer. So I'm super proud of this. And go ahead and help us win the GitHub star race. Also on GitHub, there is the Teams tab here. You can actually join the MFEM team. It's another way you can get news from us. We put stuff like this event out on there and other major things like releases out on the communication through this Teams channel. I think we've got over 500 people on Teams. And it's just another good way for us to stay in touch with you. Okay, for people who are just getting started as well, we have this AWS tutorial. You don't need any previous experience to get started with this. This is a really good way to kind of get a sense of what you can do with MFEM and very quickly kind of jump in and start getting your fingers moving on this stuff. You can, if you look at mfem.org/tutorial, it'll get you fully oriented on all of this, and it'll run you through a bunch of basics on the finite element method, show you how to do meshing, visualization, basic, and it's because it's set up as a Docker container, you don't have to do all of the installation of everything. It just works. So if you're interested in just getting your fingers moving on this stuff, and you don't want to have to sit there and figure out how to install everything, this is a good way to just get started. It's also a good way to start thinking about how to use MFEM in the cloud. There are people that are doing that, and they're doing it. There's some folks out in the industry that are looking at MFEM in the cloud to solve some of their problems. So if you're looking to do that, this is a good way to get started. Another thing I want to point out, in addition to running this workshop, we run the FEM at LLNL seminar series. We've had 21 speakers so far. Some of the speakers, we're inviting speakers that we couldn't have present today because we ran out of time to the MFEM seminar.
Now you're back.
Now I'm back. Okay, so as I was saying,
for confirmation, maybe.
we invited the folks who couldn't present to the MFEM seminar, and some of those will be giving presentations later in the seminar. We try to present about once a week. If you're interested in giving a seminar, go ahead and email us at mfem@llnl.gov, and we will get you lined up to give us a seminar. This is something we've been doing for, I think, a couple of years now, and it's been working out great. I just wanted to point out that we've got a workshop poll that I threw up on the Slack. We are interested in doing the workshop in a hybrid manner. We're considering that at least. So we want to see if we were to do this hybrid, how many of you think you might be able to show up? If you're interested in participating in this poll, go ahead and go to the Slack when you get a chance. The poll is pinned on the Slack. So if you go to the Workshop 23 channel on the Slack, you go ahead and click on the pins. You'll see it up there at the top. And go ahead and vote with the thumbs up or the thumbs down. We'll use this to consider whether we'll try to do this hybrid in the future. I think it'd be quite interesting to get a lot of you folks out here in person. I know how hard that can be, though, so we'll see if that's a possibility. And if you haven't found the MFEM workshop Slack yet, here it is, mfemworkshop.slack.com. Please join us here. That's the other half of the meeting is happening on Slack right now. There are people asking questions and getting answers right now, and people chatting back and forth about MFEM on the Slack. So please join us there as well. And finally, I just wanted to mention that we are also looking for reviewers. We're a little backlogged on pull requests right now. We had to solve a lot of funding problems at the end of the Exascale Compute program, and we managed to do that, but we left quite a few pull requests unresolved. We're starting to get around to it. So if you're interested in being a reviewer, go ahead and contact us on Slack, and we are considering quite a few folks to join the review team. We've got a lot of materials to get you oriented on sort of how to do reviews for the MFEM project. So we'd be happy to have you guys.